Trying to decide how to explain this one to you. It's bright. I'm going to put my glasses back on. Okay. So I am at Jaws Beach in the Bahamas. Why did I leave Italy to come to the Bahamas? I mean, they're both amazing places, but what prompted the change? And why is this beach significant? So I'm going to give you a little bit of the story here. This is a full circle moment for me, and that's why I needed to come back. So back in November, on November 7th, well, back up. That's really loud. Did you hear that? November 16th. November 16th, I had an experience of 2024 where I had a trauma response. I had like a panic attack, but it was a trauma response. Now, you may or may not, everybody has this. They just don't know that they're doing it. But what happened was I had been left by myself on a bus. I was on this tour and I'd been left by myself on a bus and with strangers. But my like security blanket person wasn't with me. And I started to have like a panic attack. And I never realized that that's what it was. And I started crying and I texted my friend and I was like, I am by myself and I'm like, I was kind of breathing, like labored breathing, and I was panicking. And I was having a response to being left alone. That was really significant for me because I had been seeking for other people and other things to make me feel safe. And so when I was left, I felt unsafe. And then the feeling unsafe, that's what created the anxiety and the panic for me. Okay. So it happened before, a few months prior, at a couple different times it happened. But this was really significant. So the next day, I was talking to a friend and she said, why don't you come home? I was in the Bahamas at the time. She was like, would you just come home? She was like begging me, just come home, because she saw how much pain I was in and she saw how hard it was for me. And she's like, just come home. She just wanted to stop. So I went to church that day. And when I went to church, there was a specific lesson that was given, and I've heard the story a lot of times, but I've never heard it in this way. So there's a story in the Book of Mormon, and this guy, his name's the brother of Jared. Poor guy, doesn't have a first name, I don't know. Anyway, his name is brother of Jared, and he was supposed to build these barges, like ships, but more like, I think of them like almond-shaped ships, so that they could cross the ocean. And what happened was, he was given direction by God to like how to build the barge, what it should look like, how he's supposed to put a plug in the top and a plug in the bottom, so then when it flips one direction, he can take the plug out and they can, have air. And if it flips the other direction, they can take the other plug out. I don't know. It's old and it's scripture, but he was given direction. That's the point. Okay. I'm not a scriptorian, FYI. So he was told, so just recognize this. He was told exactly, blueprint, how to build this barge. Then what happened next is he was given warning about how he was supposed to not put windows in them because they would break, and he couldn't light a fire inside of them for light because it would, of course, burn up and kill him. So he was given warning. Then what happened next is really significant. So I'm going to back you up for just a minute now. I'm going to bounce you back to after I had my panic attack. So I went to church. I heard the story. I'll tell you the rest of the story in a minute. But I heard the story after church. It hadn't like sunk in that story was significant at all. It was what I heard. I came to this beach. I came here. And I was in my swimming suit. I was walking up and down the beach. I was pacing up and down the beach. And I was in pain, like emotional pain. And I got on my phone and I sent a message to my coach, and I sent her a voice message. And you'll get to hear that voice message. It was about the saddest thing when I listen to it now that I've probably heard, coming out of myself. It's interesting when we experience something and we can go back and re-listen to it. It kind of tears my heart apart a little bit, because I was this little girl on a beach and I was so sad. And in my message to my coach, I told her that I didn't want to be on my roller coaster anymore, that I felt like I was on this roller coaster and it felt terrible and I hated it. And I didn't really like my new roller coaster, but I didn't want to be on it alone. I didn't want to be on the roller coaster alone. And I didn't like my old roller coaster, but it was maybe better than what I was doing now because at least I wasn't alone. And the old roller coaster, FYI, was my marriage. And I wasn't happy, but yet at least I wasn't by myself. And I was having this huge struggle with feeling so alone, so alone. And so as I'm crying and I'm leaving her this message, this is where I was at. And then what happened next, I went back to the condo that I was staying at, and I was kind of processing this and talking about it with my friend, and she's like, just come home, and I said, and I told her about the story of Brother Jared, and I told her about the first two steps, and then I realized the third step. This is what happened in the third step. So first, God gave instructions, very specific, right? Then he gave a warning, told you what not to do. So first he tells you what to do, then he tells you what not to do in certain situations. But the third step was, he said, okay, you're gonna have to light these things. You're gonna have light inside of them to cross the ocean. Brother of Jared, go figure it out. And I don't care how you figure it out, just figure it out and then just bring it back to me. Tell me what you're gonna do. That was the moment that I realized I had been waiting to be told what to do. I was in a situation that I wasn't happy in, but I was waiting to be told, it's okay, Lisa, it's time to stop. And because I hadn't heard that, because that hadn't come, I just kept staying in it. And what's really interesting is, and my physiotherapist will tell you this, I would go to physiotherapy and he'd be asking for updates and I'd tell him what was going on. And I would say, often, I haven't been told to stop yet. I haven't been told to stop yet. And that was a theme. I'd said that more than once. Now I was very aware that I was saying that. And so being aware that I was saying that, now with this story that I'd heard at church, I realized I didn't trust myself. I was leaning so far to having to have God tell me what to do or have him warn me what not to do that I wasn't making decisions for me. I wasn't ever making decisions because I didn't trust my decisions. And I think that got worse for sure, right? The harder life gets, the less we start to trust ourselves. And so this speech is very significant to me because it was the day that I realized I didn't have self-trust. And that was the day I decided that I was turning that around. Now there's a fourth step in that story, and the fourth step is after you make your decision, you go back to the Lord and you ask for his blessing. You ask, is this the right decision? So I think some of us, we lean one direction or we lean the other, right? We either trust ourselves so much that we forget to ask God for help, or we trust God so much that we forget to rely on ourselves. So we're usually swinging one direction or the other. I specifically was swinging so much on trusting God that I hadn't developed trust for myself. So all of us, this is a great time to check yourself. Where are you leaning? Do you believe you have to do everything on your own? And you don't have support? Or do you trust God so much that you're waiting around to make a decision and He's waiting for you to start trusting yourself? I don't know, but that's where I was at. So that day I actually changed my flight and I went home. And that was a huge awakening moment for me. And that was the beginning of my self-trust journey. So it's very significant that taking this trip to Italy, I thought it was self-love. I was working on loving myself and getting to know myself. But then I ended up developing even deeper trust for myself and believing that I was going to be okay and that everything really works for your good. And we don't have to be fearful. And we can lead through and we can work through and face and conquer anything that we actually come up against. And we don't have to do it by ourselves. We don't have to do it by ourselves. Because even though I'm single and fix my shirt here, my kids are graduated and gone, and one of them's married, and so it's just me. And even though that's my circumstance, I'm still not by myself because I've got me and God's got me. I have a partner. And it may not be like a physical person right here next to me, but I do have a partner. So I can trust me and I can trust my partner. And that feels amazing. So that's the story of the beach. It's full circle. It's full circle because I have now really deeply learned and understood what it's like to really trust myself. And not just to say that, but to feel it in my body, in every fiber of me, that it's either an energetic yes and a spiritual yes, or a spiritual and energetic no. And I just encourage you, if there's one thing that you can take from my journey in Italy, that you also can begin your own journey to trusting yourself, to loving yourself, and to starting to develop that skill that you can continue to practice. It's going to be a practice, but you can continue to practice because then you don't need to live in fear. And when fear becomes bigger than seeing possibility, it's a really terrible place to live. It creates a lot of unhappiness. It creates a lot of angst. It creates a lot of anxiety. Creates a lot of disease inside of our bodies. We don't like it. We're not meant to live that way. We're not meant to live that way, and I know that 100% now. So you can expect amazing things. And I really hope that you allow yourself to take that same kind of journey wherever you live, wherever you are, whatever your circumstance is, where you start to become aware of yourself, become aware of how you react to things, and you start to become aware of where you need to be healed. What part of you is in a belief system that's not true? What part of you believes that you need to act a certain way and do certain things in order to be loved? You get to be loved because you're you. You are 100% lovable. Every one of us was born 100% lovable. And along the way, what happened was we adapted ourselves, we adjusted our behavior, we adapted ourselves so that we could feel loved, feel safe, feel seen. Every single one of us, when we were little, that's what happens. We're like, oh, if I act this certain way, you respond this certain way to me, and then I'm going to feel loved. So now my behavior starts to change because this is what I need to do in order for you to love me. And then you start to live your life in that pattern. And eventually that pattern starts to hurt you. And if you don't recognize the pattern of behavior, you stay in the hurt. You stay in the unhappiness. So you don't have to burn down your life. You don't have to blow up your marriage. You don't have to throw everybody away that's around you. In order for you to recognize what are your patterns, where did it come from, why were you doing it, and how do you satiate that for yourself? Safety, love, acceptance, those are all gifts that you can give to yourself. And then everyone else that's around you that blesses you with their presence will also then love you, accept you, feel safe with you, and you feel safe with them to the same degree that you provide for yourself. So really the problem isn't all the things that are happening around you. The problem is what's happening on the inside of you, right? So follow along for more. I'm going to be here for you. I'm going to teach you about the grace process and how to start to move through this and really find amazing joy, happiness, and excitement every day of your life, not as the exception, not that sometimes you get to be joyful and sometimes you get to be so happy, that is how you get to live and be every day. And then when something happens that's not favorable, you can face, move through, and conquer it. And you know you can. And so you're not fearful anymore. And you get to live the most amazing life. And that is, I think, what we're all after. Okay. Thanks for joining me on my adventure to Italy.